Okay, folks, happy Saturday evening. We're back again. I don't know how long we're on here for, but hopefully a little bit longer than this morning, although it wasn't too bad. It's maybe an hour and a half. I thought it was actually going to be a little shorter than that. Worked out. And I think I did some of this basing off camera. Had a little bit of, I had maybe 30 minutes or so to kill. So I've got the French partisans already based and the Germans rebased. And we're going to go ahead and paint the basing on these guys. And for that we need good old chocolate brown. Good old chocolate brown. Lots of other colors you can use, but this is the one I happen to use for this stuff. Been pretty happy with it as the base color. And let's use a brush that's not tiny so we can be done with this week. And this is a brush that's only used for that stuff. Yeah, this is the one we want. Okay. This will be the, when these three figures are done, I believe this is 10 partisans done. And it'll be 6 Germans that have been reworked. Done in a more respectable manner. The last time I painted these figures is before I even did DBA. That was a long ass time ago. And all this basing is just a penny with a heavy-duty magnet from Litco on the bottom, self-adhesive. Okay, that's Annette. And now we do Armand. And we should be on tomorrow morning as well. As much as I want to do some buildings, I need to get some forces to fight amongst them. So. I was asked by somebody one time, why do you label all your figures? I said, well, you got to have a way to identify them. And it's silly to have them identified on the bottom, where you pick it up and put it down and you end up moving a millimeter here, a millimeter there. So that way you can read who each person is. Everybody has a last name except these partisans. I decided to give them first names. These are the only folks with first names and no last name. Hey, Nordic. Hopefully you got some sleep, dude. Had a couple gatherings I needed to go to today for graduations. And now we're back. How goes it? Trying to sober up a little bit. Nah, I had a minor buzz. Drinking tequila on the rocks. Vitamin T. No, I'm completely sober. I wouldn't be doing this because I wouldn't have any interest in doing this. And I wouldn't be good at it. The man in the gray jacket. This takes a little bit to dry, as I kind of put this on kind of heavy. Needs to be kind of durable. Thought about using craft paint for it, but I want something a little bit more durable than craft paint. I was looking for something to watch this morning while I was waiting for my car to be worked on. Oil change on it. Ended up watching another YouTuber. Instead of trying to find something to watch. He's having kind of a heart-to-heart video. And one of the things he was touching on was a bunch of people being negative in the industry. I really don't know what he was talking about, but I'm pretty much out of touch with drama and stuff. I don't really follow any of it. And unfortunately, I touched part of this paper and I got brown on the paper. So I'm going to try to fix that with white. Well, worst case scenario, I have to print up another one. I don't want to do that. This one should do nicely. Yeah, let's get one drop of this stuff right here. That should just about do it. Actually, over exaggerated what I have left for the ACW. Only have 10 mounted commanders left to paint. Are these ACW troops that were non-denominational? You could use them. Well, that worked out nicely. You could use them for the North or the South, and you just painted them differently? Or was it specifically like Confederate troops and specifically Union troops? I guess probably for the vast majority of troops, as long as they're, were well-formed units, you could probably use them for both. I know you're a fan of Zouaves. Zouaves just look weird. Zouaves just look like they just showed up in their pajamas. Actually, their poofy pants, their poofy genie type pants are fine. It's the sock they have over their head that's kind of weird to me. Some you can, but some you can't. Okay, so you got some irregular looking guys that probably can only work for the South. Does somebody ever play Civil War, American Civil War, and go, oh yeah, the bad guys, when they're talking about the South, or just kind of skip over that? I mean, I see the bad guys all the time when I'm playing World War II, but you like the Zouave regiments that they bring flair to an otherwise drab era of uniforms. Flair. You come here for battle? Well, I'm here for the flair. I guess any uniform is better than that Greek presidential guard. What are those guys called? Fudgesicle. You know, the guys with the pom-poms on their shoes. Rule of thumb is Union troops should mostly have kepis, and only Southerners slouch hats or any kind of hats. Oh, so the Southern hats. I mean, I know they had kepis. They weren't that common. Zones. That's what those damn people are called. They're not the damn people. Just they made them dress ridiculous. I'm sure they're fine folks, but not you when you dress up like that. Fudgesicle, yeah. I couldn't think. F the zones or something like that. That's the silliest uniform out there. Southern troops, the war went on, used whatever they had. Those who had cavi hats were likely in pre-war militia units. Okay. You have a slouch hat, but are you a slouch? Should have probably just reprinted these things. Saved me a lot of time. I could still do that. You plan on playing a game with them, or are you just building them just to build them? Actually wore a slouch hat AWI reenacting because the tricorn gets in the way of musket drills. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being all. The bicorn is the one that looks silly. Tricorn looks okay. Bicorn looks silly. Which is like what the Prussian troops had at the beginning of the Napoleonic period, isn't it? They just looked silly. That and the brown pants. Alright, I'm gonna need to get some coffee. I'll be right back. So just about everybody's going to agree with me that one of the silliest uniforms is those F the Zone guys. What's number two? What's the second? What's the second silliest military uniform? Any period. Any period. I'm actually working towards 3 projects with the Age of Musketry this year, okay? ACW want to do Gettysburg. The AWI want to do the 1777 Philadelphia campaign. And the French Indian War, I'm going for Braddock's defeat. So how do you put Gettysburg into perspective if it was World War II? If the American Civil War was World War II, where is Gettysburg? Is Gettysburg Kursk? Or is Gettysburg more like Stalingrad? Because the South still won stuff after Gettysburg, but it wasn't as common. It seems to me, I could be wrong, it seems to me that with my cursory knowledge of the American Civil War, the South won about 2/3 of the battles previous to Gettysburg. And I'm not an ACW expert, but that's just kind of the inkling that just kind of the feeling that I get. And I'm thinking after Gettysburg, they probably won 1/3. Am I right or am I wrong? Just generally speaking. Gettysburg is more like Stalingrad because after Stalingrad, the Germans had no chance on the Eastern Front. You sure about that? I don't know. It's hard to say. I've read several different things about the Eastern Front, and I'm willing to, I don't really have an opinion about it. I've read stuff that basically said that after like August 41, they've lost. I think that's a bit presumptuous. I just saw a book, a review or a write-up for a book on Kursk, yet another book on Kursk. And this one was kind of unique in that it basically said something along the lines of the losses the Germans took at Kursk weren't as severe as were initially thought. And, like numbers of tanks knocked out and stuff like that. But the reality is the Soviets did a really good job of packing up their factories and restarting them back up. I mean, it's just like freaking amazing. But hey, that's what you can do when you got a bunch of slaves working for you. You can do stuff like that. So in 1942, they didn't produce a whole lot of tanks, but 43, they just went to town. The South won most of the battles in the Eastern Theater before Gettysburg. In the West, the Union won most of the battles. Yeah, the battles in the West, though, I don't know if they're not really as well known. And by West, I know you mean Mississippi. The losses the Germans sustained at Stalingrad really started their decline, and that's what happened with Lee's army after Gettysburg. Yeah. So they won about what? About 1/3 of the battles after that, right? Maybe even less than that, now that I think about it. They were doing okay battle-wise. Still probably would have lost the war just from production and stuff like that. But The other thing I read recently is one of the reasons why the Germans were even able to launch something in 42 was that the Soviets, or really Stalin, really pushed hard after after Operation Typhoon to try to take a bunch of stuff back. He just figured the Germans were going to crumble, and really kind of overextended himself. And that was kind of in the time period where they were still trying to reorganize the factory, so they weren't getting a lot of AFV production in early 42. Didn't take them long though. They didn't sit around long without producing a whole lot of things. I mean, they were still producing as much as the Germans were. The Germans were doing a pretty shitty job of producing AFVs in 1942. It wasn't until like late 43, 44 they really get cranking. A bit too late for that, but Shiloh was a vicious fight. Vicksburg was a tough fight. Actually, Lee won less than a third from 64-65. His army was bleeding troops he couldn't replace, which is why Grant kept going at Lee in 64. Okay. I've said it before. If I had to paint American Civil War stuff, I would go with the ones from Old Glory because, my favorite sculptor did them and they're beautiful figures. I don't know. They touched that in that video. If you want to play the South on a Civil War game, you're a racist. Ever hear of Fire and Fury rule set? Yes, I've played it before. That's the rules I'm going to use for all three periods. Yeah, the group here started to play, when I was a kid, Fire and Fury after we did Johnny Reb way back in the day. And I like Johnny Reb because, as a rule set, because each unit, which is anywhere between 4 to, I guess some units could be 7 stands, they're all one regiment, so you could kind of paint them the same. But Fire and Fury, it's each stand, it's just a little bit more zoomed out. I don't know. I played it before, but a long time ago. Just not my thing. I'd say it's probably one of the more popular rule sets out there right now. The Overland Campaign of 64 was Grant's determination to lock on like a pit bull, not let go. He knew to defeat Lee, he had to latch on and not let go of Lee's army. Yeah, don't give him any rest. It's so funny that all the U.S. tanks in World War II, it was the Brits that gave them the names of the American generals. They would have just been happily calling them M3s or whatever. That's funny. Okay, this is Hirsch with the MP40. Fire and Fury has 2 forms, brigade form and regimental form. I have the old brigade rules, which one of the people I can game with loves the rules, but they will be base so I can use for any rules. Yeah, the brigade one was the one I played. What do people call it to be difficult? The War of Northern Aggression. Yeah, I don't believe that. Oh, shit. So what's the second dumbest uniform? If F zones are got to be number one. What's the second dumbest uniform? There's some, I think the uniforms that the Chinese Imperial Dynasty used in the Boxer Rebellion is pretty stupid. Looked like they showed up in pajamas with bamboo flip-flops. The Southerners started the war, so it should be the War of Southern Aggression. That's a good point. Yeah. The war that wasn't about slavery was about slavery. Directly or indirectly. And I get it, most people in the South probably didn't have slaves. You know? But the hoity-toity people did, and they were the ones calling the shots, so. Viet Cong uniform, yeah, that's pretty bad, isn't it? Not the NVA, the Viet Cong uniform, that's pretty bad. That's pretty lousy. I got a book of the all the uniforms of the world. Remind me, we'll take a look at that after we're done with this. There's some stupid shit in there. I got the modern one and I got the World War II one, and they have artwork. They're relatively old. I want to say they're from the 80s, but the artwork is still solid, And I think what they did is they took, for the most part, like a photograph and colorized the photograph. Just a black pajama. That's right. With flip-flops. I'm not going to battle with flip-flops. Especially not if, you're in a tripping over stuff. There's a Napoleonic cavalry uniform for a small German state that was something horrible like pink and brown or pink and drab gray. Welcome, Ben. Didn't the Poles use pink? But they had that funny flat hat called the CZ something or another. Sapopka or something. I don't know. The Danish uniform was pretty bad. They had that oversized helmet. Looked like it didn't fit somebody. Looked like a 3-year-old's wearing his daddy's helmet. There's some illustrations that were at that memorial site outside of Brunswick, Georgia, where a battle got fought there. And the battle was called, it was a skirmish that was called, I don't remember what it's called anymore. I went there a couple of years ago. And they had illustrations of some of the uniforms that some of the people used there at that battle. And some of them were pretty god-awful. Poles had the sapka. Look good. I agree. This uniform looked like something you'd find in a hospital bedpan. Small German state. Name them all. Hesse. Baden. I bet I could do an internet search on that. Shitty German Napoleonic uniform. I don't have any Napoleonic uniform sources. pink German Napoleonic uniform. Images. Man, the Prussian infantry Napoleonic Wars, the early ones, they look like crap, in my opinion. This guy's like almost wearing complete pink. Yeah, I don't see anything that's pink and brown, but I'm just kind of doing a cursory glance. Still think the best looking Napoleonic uniform for me is a French cuirass. For blandest uniform, I think Zanzibar qualifies. Pure white with a red fez, black equipment, and no shoes. No shoes is a deal breaker for me. Sorry, Mitch. You don't need to go to battle without any shoes on. I don't have shoes on right now, but I'm inside my house, and I'm not going to battle. Same thing like not going to battle, not wearing anything on your privates. Like, come on, man. You could like not fight somebody, slip, and it's over. You know. Uniforms of World War II and modern military uniforms. Both of these books are older. I've had them probably for 20 years, both of them. I think they're rather good uniforms, books. You can get these relatively cheap in stores. Are they the same author? No, this is Chris McNabb, and this is Peter Darman. And you can tell that this is a colorized uniform, because you've probably seen pictures of these guys on here. Let's look at the World War II one first, and see who gets some dork awards in here. What's the publishing date on this? I'm going to say 1987. I'm just going to pull one out of the sky here. I've had this a long time, and this is like brand new. No, 1998. Well, that was the other day. Now, let's start with the Germans first. I guess that means the guys that created the book are a bunch of Nazis too. Let's start with the Germans first. Okay. I could do a whole show on freaking military uniforms, couldn't I? All right, let's see if I can make myself smaller here in the corner. There you go, you bastard. Go hide in the corner there. Okay. All right, so this is the first page. And, you know, this is the reason I think the Germans are popular in World War II. That guy looks sharp. This guy right here. He does. I mean, he's a Nazi bastard and he invaded a bunch of countries without asking for it, but, you know, it's a sharp-looking uniform. I'm not a fan of the Panzer uniform. I had a buddy of mine who loved the Panzer uniform. I am not a fan of the double-breasted thing, and I certainly don't like him with that silly-ass cap. But that's what you get for being a Nazi. I do like the early German uniform with the pants that are more gray looking. Yeah, this guy just looks weird with that grass in his freaking helmet. And he's got is that an MP38? MP28, sorry? No, Bergman MP34 according to this. Alright, well, we can't look through every single picture. I won't get anything done. See if there's anything of note here. Who's this Nazi bastard? Corporal, Das Reich Division, yeah. F you. Looks like an asshole. Yeah, some of these are like taken from actual photographs. Like this is a lieutenant colonel of the Prince Eugen Division. And you can tell, I want to say I've seen a picture of that guy right there before. Anyhow, yeah, this is Werner Mulders, Major Jagesvater 51. It's a picture of it. It's just recolorized, which works pretty good. I think it's a reasonable way of doing it. I'm also not a fan of Fallschirmjägers. I don't know, something about them just doesn't. It's not exciting. You know, I mean, he's got freaking baggy clothes on here, like, you know, he's wearing his dad's clothes. What's that book called? Uniforms of World War II. It's by Peter Darman. I think it's kind of basic by today's standards. This is one of these you'd probably find it for $10 or something like that. United States of America. I'm just not a fan of the tanker's uniform. I'm just not. You know, God bless this country, but, you know, I think it's the helmet. When it came to play football. This guy looks badass, though. This guy right here with a BAR. It's like, get the hell out of your foxhole, you asshole. Show you some USMC uniforms, all right? You got it. Here's two. Here's the early one. Early uniform. Like they had at Midway. And I didn't know that they used the dress uniform was still the same in World War II. I find that really strange. I am actually not a fan of the Marine uniform. Sorry. It just has too many mismatched things on it. And no disrespect to any Marines. I'm just not a fan of it. Okay, here's a private of the U.S. Marine Corps. He looks like he's been in action. You like the uniform from 43 onward? Yeah. Might not be that book, but there's a World War II French tirailleurs with the weird striped overcoat that looks a bit fugly. All right, we'll get to France here. Okay, here we go. I don't like the pants not tucked into the boots. And I actually don't mind this camouflage helmet, just the helmet. I do like that herringbone twill type uniform that's almost like a field gray color. It's not very bright. And just because I don't like the uniform doesn't mean I don't like the troops. They don't get to design their uniforms. Nobody asked them. Just like, you know, sailors in their bell bottoms. Like, what the F? I know, they can be used as a flotation device. Here's the guy in the Air Force. This guy's got a tool uniform. Definitely striped there. Oh, here we go. Here's a great uniform. I think Nordic would look great in this uniform right here. Petty Officer, 3rd Class, USS Saratoga. No doubt he's an islander, but dude, man, don't wear a dress to a gunfight. You know what I'm saying? It's just so wrong. Whatever. It's wrong. U.S. Navy employed thousands of non-Americans to provide service on board ships and to keep its supply lines running smoothly. This figure illustrates one such individual, a Samoan, who wears a lava lava with the specialty mark of a baker cook on it. Yeah. I'm not showing up there with no shoes either. Wow, who's next? Great Britain, as opposed to non-Great Britain. All right, so here's how you can pull off wearing a kilt. I am not a fan of kilts. I think they look great on girls. Sorry. But here, it actually looks pretty decent. And what I'm saying is the battle that... It's actually the kilt that isn't the problem. This one battle, the one I was talking about in the War of Jenkins' Ear, the British... the British troops had some Scottish folks with them, and they had really loud kilts and really loud socks that went with the kilts, and they were just looked really impractical. This actually looks pretty practical. So yeah, I do want to do a bagpiper. And of course, bagpiper's got to have a kilt, but a little subtle. You don't need to be shot right in the the stuff you should be protecting. You'd rather work. Yeah, compared to that guy, sure. Absolutely. Let's see. That's got to be Cunningham. Yeah, it's Admiral Cunningham in his dress whites. Italy. Italy's tanker's uniform is stupid. Here it is. Look at this helmet. There's a short bus helmet right there. Now you want to paint some World War II if you haven't got any. You painted a bagpiper when I did British in North Africa. The whole point in painting a bagpiper is when you're playing the game, you can do annoying sounds like, I think that's what the point is. Oh, I like this guy. Who's this Nazi bastard? Oh, I'm sorry. He's just a fascist. This guy right here. I like how he has a thing for his hair, almost like that wrap that people with dreads put on. Japan, well, that didn't last long. That was like 3 pages. Nothing worth looking at there. Ah, the commies. All right, I gotta see that. Sometimes the Soviets look okay. Look at this guy. This guy looks pretty cool. I like how his helmet has that kind of dip over the ears. What's that, an SVT? Yeah, he's got an SVT. All right, Nordic, you want a date, you got to go out with one of these 2 girls. Oh, I think they'd both be able to kick my ass. I better be fast. All right, here we're at France. We're looking for the tree. I don't even know how to say them. I'll see them if it. Oh, it's a Goumier. Yeah, this guy looks like a dumbass. Sorry. Yeah. Hey, excuse me, you mind if I take your drapes? Why? I need a uniform. No dice, they're not blonde or Japanese. There's plenty of blonde Russians. Oh, now they have British Empire. It was Great Britain and then British Empire. You should have just put Commonwealth. Weird. Other Axis countries. I guess the Hungarians used a German helmet that's similar to the World War I German helmet. It's a little bit different than the other one. It has more of a World War I shape to it. A Goumier. Who the hell were those guys? Sounds like some Vichy bullshit. Let's see if it says who the hell a Goumier is. Syria. French African troops in Syria. With the collapse Axis cause in North Africa, Free French soldiers were able to persuade many Vichy soldiers to join their cause, especially after Germany had occupied Vichy France itself. Vichy soldiers were recruited in such large numbers that the French were able to organize the French Expeditionary Corps, which was deployed to Italy at the end of 1943. At first, the Corps numbered 2 divisions, but in the spring of 44 was reinforced by a further 2 divisions. That's a lot of folks. Free French uniforms were heavily influenced by British and American supplies of clothing. This meant that the insignia in French national colors was the only indication as to identity. However, Free French troops, whether French or from France's colonies, continued to wear their existing uniform as long as possible, being eventually replaced by either American or British uniforms and hardware. This Moroccan Goumier, serving in the French Expeditionary Corps in Italy, is wearing a British steel helmet on top of his turban and a striped jalaba over his American combat uniform. The arrangement of color of the jalaba identified the wearer's tribe. Okay, so these guys are like, crap, what were those guys called before? Berbers, or post-Berbers or something like that. During the Italian campaign, the Free French were heavily committed during the battles around Monte Cassino, outflanking German mountain positions and ensuring the Allied victory. After the fall of Rome in May 44, the French forces were withdrawn from Italy to prepare for the invasion of France. I don't know if I was aware that the French fought in Italy. Anything else of note here? Other allied countries. Oh, we're gonna get this stupid Danish guy. Actually, he's not stupid. He didn't get to pick his uniform either. Assuming he was in here. Maybe he's in a different Yugoslav. Actually, he doesn't look that bad here. Oh yeah, he does. He's got his pants rolled up. Want to laugh on ACW at Gettysburg, Geary's division had 2 brigade commanders named Candy and Kane. The French colonial troops committed a lot of war crimes during their time in Italy. I also didn't know that. You mean more than other Allied armies that aren't Soviet? Oh, here we go. Look at this dumbass. Poor guy. Looks like a dwarf. Warrant officer, 7th Infantry Regiment, Danish Army. Wow. Oh, look, when they went to war, they still wore those stupid pom-poms. You can't take people serious with freaking pom-poms. Sorry. On your shoes. A dusting we will go. Okay, that's all we got. There's other stuff in there, but just nothing, you know, just stands out like nobody's business. All right, let's finish these guys. Didn't think we would see a live session. Me neither, man, but expect the unexpected. If I get a chance to be on here, I'll be on here. I enjoy doing that, especially if you guys enjoy it as well and we come to keep each other company. That works. Everybody wins. I actually went to a gathering this evening, and my daughter wanted to leave. We'd taken 2 separate cars. My wife stayed, and the only reason I left was I didn't need to drink anymore. I was just going to end up drinking more. Not that I had a lot, but I'm like, nah, I don't want to feel like crap in the morning. So I would not wear pom-poms on my shoes or in general unless it's a Napoleonic uniform. It's got to be on the top of your helmet, right? Red Army level and type of war crime. If I remember correctly, the French ended up sending them back because it was making it hard to interact with the civilians. Oh, wow. I honestly don't know anything about it, you know? Yeah, the winners of the war crime awards are definitely the Soviets, the Germans, and the Japanese, without a doubt. I mean, I'm sure every country committed war crimes. Well, maybe not the Danes, because, you know, how many war crimes can you commit in 6 hours? But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that the U.S. didn't commit any war crimes, but I'm going to say that they committed a hell of a lot less than the Soviets and the Germans. That goes beyond that goes beyond reason, you know. And not to be I don't even know. I know the word I want to say, and I can't think of what it is. But not to nitpick, but there's a difference of war crimes. There's a difference between, you know, hauling off entire populations or, you know, locking them in buildings and setting fire to the building. There's a difference between that and just like, you know, you're fighting other troops and they're shooting at your buddies, and then just before you get to them, they throw their hands up and they want to surrender, and then you shoot them instead. There's a big difference in those two things in my book. Maybe not yours, but in mine there is. Let's use a smaller brush and see if we can get around this paper and not mess it up. called away to serve something to the wife. Think if you should paint tonight. Yep. Always. The wife has been served. Man, I don't know if I can get in behind this. We're going to try our damnedest. We'll have to print out some names if this doesn't work out. Oh, we have a visitor. Okay. Ta-da. Any units of the American Civil War you're just not interested in playing and painting? Iron Brigade. Didn't those guys have slouch hats? I feel like Iron Brigade speaks like long jackets, like parkas and slouch hats. I don't know why. Yeah, having to deal with this vestiges of this green shit that was on here before is the biggest problem with these old figures. The painting's just as solid as anything I would do. I believe these are almost all Games Workshop colors for the most part. The Series 1 Games Workshop colors, Citadel paints. I liked them. We're going to have to get in here and pray for the best. Hardy hats. How is that different from a slouch hat? Frock coats. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. You're working on some U.S. paras. Here's one for your people. The Valencianos. Volunteers during the Napoleonic Wars. That sounds like a bunch of folks that are really poorly dressed. The Spanish guerrilla fighters look like ass. The ones I've seen, they got like these little top hat looking things. Those guys deserve to be molested by a bunch of French people. You're gonna dress like that, you're just gonna get picked on. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of my people after they had a French king. Valencianos. I think if you call somebody Valenciano now, it would be like a bard or something like that. Something that involves like singing. And seriously, I think that's what it is. I mean, I know it means somebody from Valencia, but or I'm sorry, Valencia. Silly me. So yeah, if you weren't on this morning, then you didn't hear me go on the updating everybody that our European cruise for December/January was canceled, and we don't know why. And I'm actually okay with it. It's so far out. We hadn't bought any of the airfare or anything over there, so I'm all right. I'm all right. Not going to Europe ever. I mean, it's not that it's just so damn difficult. And like I said, I was saying this morning, it's so difficult to go and have the rug pulled out from under you all the time. I don't get excited about something until even I'll go on the trip and I still haven't unclenched yet. It doesn't hit me. It's so far away that it's kind of hard to get excited about something that could change at any moment. Wartime high school friend and I have developed a set of rules, small scale engagements, not quite much detail as Tony describes. Yeah, mine has. And actually the rules I was coming up with had even more detail than Face of Battle. I sent you 2 links to a slouch hat and a Hardy hat. Okay, I'll take a look at it after I'm offline. Only Napa uniform I have ever seen where there's a shako and shorts. Oh, good lord. With looks to be socks and sandals. Oh, no. Oh, dear God, no. No. That's horrible. Socks and sandals. That would be the second worst uniform there. You just described it. Well, like I said, you get a French king and who knows what the hell you'll be wearing. Next thing you know, your whole army's got freaking buckles and heels. Let's see. I gotta look this up. Oh dear God. Valencianos troops. Oh Oh, I don't know who that guy is, but he's a pendejo looking dude. Volunteer Rangers of Valencia. What a dumbass. Yeah. I'll take a look at your link now. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it's running a little slow. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so kind of like a cowboy hat. Oh, I didn't know they had like a little red cross on there. Almost like a Maltese cross on there. Hardy hat. Okay, so it's different than a slouch hat. There's Joe has a book that he ended up getting on the Pacific War. That would be the Union 5th Corps symbol, the Maltese cross hat. So that's a good symbol. On the Pacific War in the 1860s, 1870s, down in Peru, Bolivia, all that, and because he does the ironclad stuff, and he brought it in about a month or so ago, and I'm looking at the book, and there's some horrible looking folks in that book, and a lot of it is just these sideburns that are just out of control, you know, like freaking weeds on your face. But you know, at least that could be fixed relatively easy with sheep shears. I'm glad I'm not German, because it'd be really annoying to have your name that got changed a certain way because of the war. Like, oh, I got to change my name because I didn't want to be discriminated against or something. Just change the spelling of it or something like that. That's kind of annoying to have to do that. So one of your ancestors did something like that. I was waiting for my car to get the oil change done this morning, and I started watching some YouTube stuff. And one of them was it a guy that I subscribed to? I don't know. It was a guy's voice, and he was doing a video that went something along the lines of the German aircraft that could have won the war or something like that. It was an article like that, and it was that Dornier 335 or whatever, that push pull looking thing. And it was actually kind of interesting because I don't know anything about aircraft. Is definitely a thing I'm the weakest on. World War II stuff, and especially things that, really didn't go into full production. Like I found out about some American aircraft I had never even heard of before a couple months ago from one of my buddies, and it's just a beautiful aircraft. Actually, I don't even remember what it is anymore. But it was a beautiful U.S. aircraft, and I think they made a couple of them and they crashed. I forget what it was, but I posted on my Facebook page a few months ago. But I don't know anything about the 335. I think that was one of the planes you could fly in Swaddle. Any of you guys play Swaddle? Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe by, who was that? Was that a Dynamics game? I think it was a Dynamics game. Same people that made Red Baron and Aces Over Europe and Sierra/Dynamics. Kicking it like it's 1990 or 91, something like that. Swaddle. Back when to get in the game, you had to enter a code that was only available in the rule book. Had a lot of fun playing those games. I don't want to play them again. I'm not a retro gamer. I suffered with those horrible graphics. I don't want to go back to them. Yeah, you could play like the Flying Wing and stuff like that. Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe. Unless it was Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm that made, what was the was it Dark Forces? Dark Forces is the first shooter I remember that had grenades. You could throw them and they could bounce. And you picked up the rifle that the stormtroopers used. And if you held it in one spot and fired individual shots, they would never go in the same place. Like, that's the problem. That's why they couldn't hit anything. Their rifle was obviously broken. Had a barrel that was just loose in there. Now it makes sense. Dark Forces, I think is what it was called. You hate grenades and shooters. Blame it all on Call of Duty being grenade spam. I really want to play the Borderlands D&D ripoff. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I think I'm gonna. I don't know. I don't know whether the girls are gonna leave again. I'm gonna try to do some Xbox games and stream them on this channel. Not exclusively, but just like, I feel like playing one, and you might be entertaining for the color commentary I'm going to provide. I just don't want to play a game by myself. It's just kind of stupid, you know. It just doesn't seem a whole lot of purpose. But you don't have anything to show for it when you're done. Bunkers and badasses. Yeah, I'm surprised you knew about her. So supposedly her storyline was that she was being experimented on, and there was this material called slag that was that's what I listened to this week, was the backstory of several of the characters. And you know, I played all the games, I just don't remember them. I don't remember what was in one and what was in the other one, and it's all like a big blur. And yeah, I'd watched a video, and there's definitely have some people that have a lot of free time on their hands to do all kinds of compilation type stuff. But she was apparently a kid that was being experimented on by one of the corporations. Because all the corporations are kind of like paramilitary. It's like multiple Blackwaters. And one of them was using the iridium, which was one of the things found on the planet. And there's a byproduct of it that we're using to experiment on her, and she just went like crazy. But that's got to be pretty much a dream job. If your job is to basically play a lunatic and do the voice acting, it's just hilarious. I ran across somebody the other day. What did he say? Something. He wanted to be a flesh cupcake. You know. Who comes up with this stuff, man? Got my daughter to play with me in split screen a little bit, but it's really hard to see what's going on when you're got to squint really to see what's going on. We only have half the screen space. I can play for an hour and a half or so. Something to do. Okay. See if you missed any spots here. Bunkers and Badasses. That's actually a decent name. But there's very few games I get excited about. You know, most of them are just like garbage. I wouldn't even bother, you know, playing. Just because it's a game doesn't mean I necessarily want to play with it. You know, I wouldn't play any video games. There was stuff like, you know, Mario Brothers and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not interested in that stuff. Jumping Hell. All right, let's get the dry brushing colors out here. That would be US Field Drab and Arachne Sand. Post-apocalyptic game. French folks. I can't see the French dudes because they're not all dudes. All right, where is a brush we're not in love with anymore? Let's get that old paint out there. Bunkers and Badass. I'm surprised you know about that. You haven't played it? Mr. Torg. More explosions. Those guys had a blast doing all the voiceover work for all that stuff. Getting close to finally being able to eat something for dinner. I need to have your insides settle a little bit, right? Shit. How the hell did it get to be 9? Yeah, I got... If you watch enough videos, if you know who Claptrap is, he's the annoying little nerd-burgly little robot. I got somebody I know that reminds me of Claptrap. Every time he comes on, it reminds me of Rick. Poor guy. Got it? Been bothering me for the last 4.5 hours. Can't find the pills for kicking in. Yeah, that's gotta suck, man. But at least, hopefully, it's not causing you to come out at your, throw up. Because man, I absolutely hate throwing up. If you got to go to the toilet, that's one thing. But the other end, I don't do well with it. The voice actress of Tiny Tina. Is she cute or something? The character isn't. But she's funny as shit, man. It's a great game. It really is. It really is. It has, and you can tell that they took things from all kinds of different sources. There's definitely a Diablo influence to the weapons, and obviously the weapon colors are like right off of Diablo. You could find different things, and it's got influences of World of Warcraft. Where you kill guys, and then after about 10 or 15 minutes they come back. So you can't just kill them and they're not back. They don't come back again. Things repopulate. World of Warcraft was the first game I ever played that did that. I mean, there might be other games that have done that before, but it'd be cool if they had done people that did voice actors that look like the characters. At least some kind of similarity. I think that would be pretty neat. Gonna step away about 20 minutes, make something to eat. Okay. I'll check it out when you come back. this chair likes to bitch and complain when I shift my weight any little bit. It sounds like a grumpy pirate ship. I'll be out here about an hour and a half. Yeah, we'll finish doing the dry brush on this. And then we'll put the tufts on in the morning. Paint the edges and then we'll do the tufts in the morning. I probably need to eat something too. I didn't have dinner. Okay, this is Langer and Kaufman. Which I forget what the hell it means. A lot of these German names they're occupational, and Kaufman is one of them. I could look it up. I don't want to go and do that, but that's one that's not obvious what it is. You know, like Becker or Mueller. You know, that's a baker and a miller right there. Actually, Schneider was one of them too. Schneider was an occupational one. I don't remember what it is, like guy who works on a lock or something like that. The bitching chair. Yeah, several videos of. I gotta try doing SS Camo at some point. I'm just not in a big hurry. You know, I'm not a fan of those guys, and I'm really not a fan of their stupid ranks that they have. So and so Führer, and you know, Sturmbannführer and Obersturmbannführer and, you know, Kiss My Ass Bannführer. You know, I'm not a fan of those silly ass ranks. The camo's cool. That's about it. Merchant from the similar Jewish surname. Yeah, well, a lot of them have, you know, Jewish influences because, you know, they're all over Europe. One of my guys actually has a Polish last name, Oślewski. He's a squad leader or assistant squad leader. One of those two. There's quite a few Germans that had Polish names. It's just sliding so much on that. Yep, two ends. That's right. Oops. So supposedly on Monday night we're going to be playing. I'm not going to do it live because I can't really do it live there. I can do live stuff here. I can't do live stuff there with streaming over mobile. It just look like crap, but I haven't decided if I'm going to film it. I'm probably not because we don't really know what we're doing, but I'm going to try and do some lion rampant using our DBA armies and see how that works out. I think it should be fine. Annette. And Guy. The Guy with a grenade. Who that guy? It's Guy. Names being changed always reminds me of The Sopranos, where one character claims the Americans changed his family name from Leonardo to Leotardo to insult them. Oh wow! I've actually never seen The Sopranos, and I wasn't able to see it when it was on. I am not. I don't dislike mafia stuff. Generally, it's actually a theme I am quite fond of, mainly because you don't know who's going to get the axe. There was a series that was on several years ago. I think it was available on Netflix. It was an Italian series called Gomorrah, and it was a mafia thing, in present day. And although it was slow, it was very good. I thought it was very good. I think they did just 2 seasons of it. I saw them both. I don't know if they ever did a third one, but Leotardo. All right, we got to paint the edges on these guys. I'd love to do some Italian tanks. Just not yet. Just not yet. The Italian one was good from what I remember. There was also a Romanzo Criminale, which had both a movie and a TV series. Criminal romance. That's what it sounds like to me. Romanzo criminale. My parents actually were friends with a guy, and if you're a World War II nut, you would know who this guy is. We're friends with a guy. I never got to meet him, and I forget about it, but I'm kind of disappointed I never got to meet him. But he was the dad of the wife of this couple that my parents knew. And he was a Italian Savoia Marichetti SM-79 bomber pilot, and from what I understand, is like a torpedo bomb. So there's a group that met back in the early '90s when we met at the hobby store. We had I think it was Tuesdays, once a month on Tuesdays. We had like a hobby meet. And a couple of the guys that went there, one guy in particular, was big on getting autographs of aces or pilots, Allied and Axis, as he came across them, he'd buy like artwork and he'd want them to sign it, He was big on that. And he knew about this guy. And did the guy live in town? I think he lived in. Her husband is an orthodontist here in town, and I never got a chance to meet him. And I don't think he was an ace, but he dropped like torpedoes in the med. SM-79. I think they had two strapped on there. Maybe I'm thinking Heinkel. See, I'm weak on the aircraft stuff, because I haven't played a lot of games with it, because that's how you learn stuff. That's how I learn things, is taking part. Well, how do you take part? You play a game with it. And at the time, I was doing World War II ships, so you might have gotten a kick out of all the Italian ships that I had painted with the candy stripes on their decks and stuff. I don't know. Never got a chance to meet him. He passed away. Hell, it's probably 15, 20 years now. But my parents don't speak Italian, but they speak Spanish, so it's close enough you can kind of muddle your way through between both of them. I was actually looking forward to going to Italy and just talking with my hands and seeing how far it could get me. But the funny thing is I'm watching this Gamora show, right? And I watch everything with subtitles anyways, even stuff that's in English. And it's all not dubbed, it's just, in Italian, and then we're reading with subtitles. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I speak Spanish. I should be able to figure out, more than half of what they're saying. Oh no, they're pronouncing stuff that I don't even. And then I was telling somebody about that, and they go, oh, well, that's because they speak a dialect there that isn't the Italian that most people recognize. I'm like, well, shit, now how the hell am I going to figure that out? Because there's some folks that speak English from the old country. I don't know what the hell they're saying. I just don't. I'll look at subtitles and I still don't know what the hell they're saying. There's a series on Netflix. Well, I don't think it's a Netflix series, but I tried to watch it. My mom and my brother are big fans of it. So, oh, you'd probably like it. I started watching it. It's all in Spanish. It's a modern series in Spain. And I don't know what they're saying. I have no idea what they're saying. They're talking so fast and they mumble, and it's like, holy crap. Romanzo criminale. Yeah, see, I would have called it romanza criminale, but again, that's trying to twist it into Spanish, which it is not. Romance would be a feminine word in Spanish. Okay, where does that leave us? All these guys are done except the tufts. I'm going to do one more thing before I stop, and that is I'm going to need this in the morning. I'm going to grab a brush, and we're going to grab some Vallejo flat matte varnish, and we're going to matte varnish these old figures. I do not want to use an enamel on top of an old enamel and bring these things back to life. And I've got some, instead of it just being semi-gloss, it'll end up being flat, semi-flat. All kinds of bad things could happen. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to fudgesicle. Maybe I shouldn't do that. No, I'm going to take that as a sign we're not going to do that. Let's make sure I can hold on to the figure, and then we'll do it over it. Yeah, because that's what I did with these figures. They're nice and well. I covered that, and then I went over with this stuff again, which is super flat, super durable. So that's going to call it tonight. We'll be back on tomorrow morning for some more World War II figure stuff, and